Hello, welcome to Tweet the Leader New podcast, where we chat about realistic leadership theories. My name is Templeton Sawyer. I am your one and only host of this great, amazing podcast. And today's podcast is actually starting off a new season and episode where we're going to be talking about diverse leadership and having a different perspective. Diversity can be defined in so many ways. And this is a roundtable discussion. So it's an open discussion for our team members who are going to be joining. And also, we have the great special guest of Tyree Haley, who is a student service and Black and African cultural support advisor at the Nova Scotia Community College here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So we are so happy to have you here today, man. And welcome the great, amazing team members, Ashley Hecky, Yusuf, Rex Charlton. I am so excited to have you folks joining this important discussion on leadership and diversity. This is a very important discussion, so let's just get right into it. First of all, how are folks doing? Tyree, how are you, man?
What's going on, everybody? I'm just so happy to be here with you, Templeton. You're such a great personality, great soul, and me and you are on the board for Dunmore Buddy Day, and I'm just so happy to be here, in your space with your people, and yeah, thank you for having me. I'm fantastic this
No
morning.
problem, man. Ashley, Yusuf, Rex, how are you folks? What's going on?
Hey, we're fantastic. We get to hang out with you.
That's right, that's
I'm
right.
great. Great, man. Thank you so much for having me on this
Yusuf,
podcast again. I'm so happy for this. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'm also really excited. This is my second episode ever. So far, everything's going great, and I'm excited.
awesome. Diversity is very important when it comes down to developing and changing in today's workplace and also in a global economy. When we look at diversity, we have lots of different definitions. A lot of people around the world are changing its realm of spaces and making a diverse perspective happen. And so we're here to have an important discussion and an important way of changing where we can go and all that good stuff. Um, I want to start the question off today. What is the difference between diversity and inclusion? Ashley, go ahead.
I think the difference between, you can create diversity is taking the regardless of who's at the table, diversity is people from all walks of life, whether it's culture, experience, etc., and including a whole breadth of people within any given task or question. If you take 10 people, ask them the same question, you're going to get 10 diverse answers. Inclusion is including anyone at all to do anything, that anybody can do anything, in my opinion.
That's a great point. Yusuf, I think you have an amazing input. Also, as an international student who is from Dubai, I think it's really good to see how is the diversity and inclusion being here in Canada. But speak about your definition and then go on from there.
Okay, so the way I see diversity is having the availability of people of different demographics, such as culture, age, and gender. Um, that in itself is diversity. Inclusion is when there's awareness in diversity and people put the effort to reduce discrimination and promote diversity even more.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I would say that diversity brings a lot of different perspective from a cultural perspective, but also from an opinion perspective as well. So you have to look at diversity from two different ways of life. A lot of people I've seen looking at diversity from a cultural perspective, which is very important in today's society. But also looking from a broader perspective, from open mindedness, I would say, of being open to hearing. Tyree, I think it's very important to hear your perspective as well. What are your thoughts, man?
So
Great.
I did get a chance to look at the questions this morning, and I love the questions, and I guess like how I want to describe diversity and inclusion would be almost like peanut butter and jelly, because you can't have one without the other, and I think that they go together so well. So my definition for diversity, much like Ashley and Yosef had said, is basically just the whether it be gender, race, religion, sexual orientation. I feel like diversity is just having a group of people from all walks of life and be able to be in a situation. And this is where inclusion comes in, because inclusion is including everybody in all walks of life. So you can have a diverse place but it not be inclusive. You know what I mean? So I think that they really both go together and tend and like together really well. And you have to include inclusiveness when you're
Awesome.
talking
I
about
think that's a great
diversity.
perspective. Thank you so much, man. Rex, I think it's really good to grab you on this question. I think this number one question is very important to hear everyone's perspective,
For
and then
sure.
we'll go into other questions where others may have different, may back away, and then others will respond. So Rex, go ahead.
Wow. I mean, everyone hit the nail on the head, honestly, when it comes down to diversity and inclusion. But for me, like, honestly, um, you can't go exactly what Terry say when he talk about it can't go without the other, right? So honestly, for me, like coming out from, we came from the Bahamas. We really didn't know too much about diversity too much because pretty much all of us are the same kind, right? So again, when we travel, when we came to Canada, what we realized that there is a diversity. We have to be inclusive of each other. So again, diversity is just going. Diversity is having each other, making sure it's diverse. Having it, whether it's sexual orientation, again, like so many different aspects that plays a role in diversity. But again, inclusion is making sure everyone is included in that circle, not just being like separate. So yeah.
You
Can I
know,
can I
I
say something
want.
there? Because I thought Rex made a really great point there. I grew up in a town of 500 people, and
Mm,
much like yourself, everyone was the same kind too. I don't think I
mhm.
met in my entire school. I don't think there was a person of a different color, like a different color or religion than I was. I mean, there might have been, but I was a kid, and I think when I I left and I finished my last year of high school in Halifax West, and that was completely different. And I think there's an importance even at a young age to start thinking about how do we, showcase different cultures and experiences. I thought that was just a really cool question, a really cool point.
Wow, and I look at the different cultural perspectives here. We have an African Nova Scotian. We have someone from Dubai. We have also a Canadian. Ashley, where are you from again?
I'm from Cape Breton in Nova Scotia.
So Nova Scotian, and also from Bahamas. We have two Bahamians, and so we have a whole diverse cultural perspective here. And I want to use. I'm currently attending this Black Policy Conference, which is happening currently as we speak. And one of the African proverb that they use, and I think it resonates with diversity and inclusion, is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I feel that when we think about that diverse perspective, not including, you have to include the togetherness. Ubuntu, I think that's the spirit of togetherness. And I've been in this Ubuntu spirit since I actually left the retreat of the Delmora Buddy Day Learning Institute, which me and Tyree sits on the board for. We saw that togetherness, and I think it resonates for us to bring that up as we continue to move forward. So let's just go into the other question. How have you demonstrate and actively commit yourself to diversity and inclusion in your roles that you play um, career-wise? And I will start with Tyree and then go along. Yeah.
Thank you. So that's a really good question, because you can talk as much as you want about diversity and inclusion, but like, how are you actually committing to doing that? And I think that that's really important. So as Templeton had said, my role at the college is a student service advisor and African cultural support. So basically, I'm the go-to advisor for all like the Black students, whether they're from the Caribbean or they're from Africa or they're Black Nova Scotian like myself. They would come to me for a variety of different reasons. How I demonstrated like commitment to diversity and inclusion is that even though I'm technically supposed to be an advisor for Black students, and there are international advisors and Indigenous supports as well, I don't limit myself to just deal with Black students. So I make sure that I am making my office welcome to all aspects of diversity and people inclusion. You know, I had someone that was non-binary come into my office, and sat down and we had a nice chat and stuff. And just to get perspectives from them is so crucial, because I feel like when we're brought up, as children, and even into adolescence, some of our parents, and their beliefs can kind of trickle down on us, whether we like it or not. And it isn't until you become your own adult that you realize that the world is a much better place when you're open-minded and you get to know different people that you wouldn't take the time to get to know to. So, to answer your question, Templeton, I think that just, in my workspace right now, it just being more open-minded to talk to different people of different walks of life that I might not have been comfortable doing so when I was younger and had a small mindset, to now just, almost appreciating those interactions more than interactions with people that come from the same background as me. Because I feel like, when you truthfully, give everybody a chance to like tell their story and what they've been through, I think that just makes you a better person, and and essentially just a good human overall.
Awesome, Ashley. I think it's good for you to add on to this discussion. What are your thoughts?
I think that I come at this from a completely different angle than Tyree, and I echo your sentiments. I am a business owner, and I developed a business entirely to make technology more inclusive inherently. My client base is what I think that you can do to include diversity is not only just in your staff, because the technology industry is quite diverse culturally and through a lot of people, but actually it's client diversity for me. Technology is also, in a lot of cases, very exclusive to people that know how to use computers, that are physically able. And I think you can promote diversity and inclusion not just by who you work with, but who you work for, and what your corporate values are. And that make sure that your services and products are accessible and diverse and reflects the interests of those people. And that you consult with them on what their actual needs are and figure it out if you're missing the mark.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Rex, what are your thoughts?
Gee, wow! Everybody's hot. The topic is hot, man. The topic is hot. But like I would just stay with my two roles that I was in. Well, I'm currently in one, but I would say my would be student union. I was the first Black student union president at Mount St. Vincent University. So it was really an eye opener for me to say, like, wow, in 20 years. It was the first I was the first Black student union president. So it was really like an eye opening, and it was, I really brought that, that sense of, there could be change, there could be diversity, so I was and Templeton was with me when I was like getting accepted as student union president. He's like, Rex, you got this, Rex. And I was like, man, I don't know, and keep on pushing and being able to achieve that goal. That was honestly amazing for me. And I will speak on my current role. I work for a financial institution here in Halifax. And I was able to promote change by we work at a financial institution, whereas there's a lot of things that goes on with when it comes down to pride, where it comes down to different events, but we didn't really see much happening for when it comes down to Black History Month. There was really nothing happening. We just was like, it was just like a regular day. And so for me, I sat down with my managers and the head, and I was like, we really need to do something. We really have to step it up as a financial institution. We must be able to be more inclusive. And then my little voice that really have a position, really stand out and make a change. And so I've been with the company from 2019, and so from now, ever since, they've made a difference to have Black History Month and wear Black t-shirts. And so for me, this little guy from the Bahamas actually made a little difference in this big company. Was like, honestly, it's like, wow, I can actually make a difference, and being able to, because there was really nothing. You can see like different events that was happening throughout Halifax and Nova Scotia, but there was really nothing happening for the Blacks. And so it was really eye opening. It was really touching. It was really motivating to say, yo, you're like you can do things. You know, your voice can be heard. And so for a little guy like me to a big company like them, it's like wow, I can do things. You know, so yeah.
Yeah, I would speak from also from an employment perspective because I work in the employment industry, and our organization we focus on from a diverse perspective of team dynamic and also focusing also on that inclusiveness of welcoming everyone into our space from accessibility, disability needs and all that good stuff and helping people from different race and gender and all that good stuff and bringing them to hear their voices, having those voices. And I feel that there are a lot of spaces being made right now, especially when it comes down to youth development. I'm a part of this youth initiative called the Community Practice of Youth Focus with us as an organization at Teamwork Cooperative and also as an organization with the Employment Innovation in Cape and Antigonish. I think, yeah, Antigonish, please don't quote me wrong on that. But yeah, we're actually focusing on from a diverse perspective on allowing youth voices to be heard from a diverse and inclusion perspective because I feel that when we have more of these forums going on, there has to be action towards these forums. I feel that the forums that are happening now they are changing. They were more so of just a discussion based forum, but more they're having a discussion and an action based forum at the same time. Whereas we're including youth, which is the action where we're saying, okay, we are welcoming the career practitioners, but then they say, okay, no, we should invite the youth. Let's invite them. Let's hear their voices. Let's hear what they have to say in order to help us move forward into different ways. And so when it comes down to that, welcoming different people into the spaces and also into the workplace, how do you feel about the workplace diversity? And Yusuf, I think you work here at Teamwork Cooperative, which is our employment agency. How do you feel about the workplace diversity that happens here?
Well, I think it's really inclusive because originally Teamwork Cooperative only specialized in people with mental or physical disabilities, right? But now it's open up to anyone who's eligible to work in Nova Scotia. So that alone will show you how inclusive it is. And when it comes to my role, I don't want to limit my answer to just my role since I am an intern, so I don't have the opportunities to work with different clients as much as a full-time worker. But I want to mention how the way I was raised and where I grew up in Dubai, it's a very cosmopolitan city. So I was growing up exposed to a lot of different people from all over the world. So at a young age, I really understood how to be inclusive and how to appreciate diverse cultures and people with different languages. And finally, I also want to say that the world is rapidly changing. Globalization is at an all-time high. So if you do want to be effective in your life, you need to be able to include people from different demographics in your life. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very important. The inclusive,ness it brings a whole collective of where we can go as a body. And so I'm going to shift into a different area. And actually, I'm targeting this question towards you. If you were to create a diversity and inclusion plan, what would be your priorities?
My priorities would actually be starting with the actual the hiring process of all companies. When I look at, and Tyree, I think you may be able to echo this from some of maybe your students. When I remember looking at this job role, and it was way back probably 10 years ago, and it said, you know, you had to have this degree, that degree, that degree, and all these, in order to really look into diversity and inclusion, if you put these hard limits on, you know, what prerequisites a person says that they feel that they're qualified to do a role, how about you listen to their experience? And then you're taking away, because, you know, certain people that even get certain qualifications in other countries, they're disqualified when they come here because we have different rules on how you had to have attended post-secondary education. And there's certain generations that didn't even have access to that type. People come here from different countries. Just because, for example, if you come here from Syria and you owned a business your entire life and then you fled that country, you are equally as qualified to be a manager of staff because you've done it before. But it's from the beginning, these places discourage diverse applicants because they think, oh, well, I don't have that degree that is on that paper. So I would start by removing the educational, because a lot of marginalized cultures, they don't have those educational requirements. I myself have a college background, and I can't tell you when I worked with one of the big four how I was looked down upon because I didn't have the master's of business and all the other fancy things. Well, now I have my own company. And so in my recruitment plan, I will never mention education, and I will do everything to balance the requirements to include something that is likely to have been experienced by a different culture, because you can gain experiencing if you are, say, for example, looking at a person that would be responsible for people. If they worked at a daycare, for example, that they would have dealt with children, which, by the way, is 10 times harder than dealing with adults, that you can have an open mind when you write a job description, what you're looking for, and focus on the person, because people can learn to do anything. I have retrained twice in my life to do completely different roles, and look at the capabilities of a person and stop looking at these boxes. So that would be my contribution.
Woo, preach, sister. Wow,
That is so true.
said something
Like, wow, you made me shed a tear.
literally said something that applies to
Many people along my life, I've been called a hillbilly. And you know what? I've shed a lot of tears because of different managers' belief of, you know what, I've taken a lot of communications courses, but I sounded like, a small town girl from Nova Scotia and like the country bumpkin for quite a long time. And I can't tell you how I was treated, or that didn't make me less smart or capable. But I think we just need to start thinking about people and what they can do and and you know what, lead. Actually, if you think you just think someone is a really strong, motivated person, give them a chance.
Yeah. Tyree, I want to hear from you, man. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yo, it's so hard to follow up because I feel like Ashley made a lot of great
Really?
points, and she's right on point. It's crazy because in the college here, there's without going into too much of a situation that's transpiring right now, but HR is flooded with old white people. Period. I'm just gonna be real for a bit. And it's crazy because there's a situation that had happened or that can transpire in an organization. I'll just say, hypothetically. And if something has happened and someone whether it be a marginalized community or someone that's just not, the majority happens, it's almost like when you're in a situation like myself where, I have to do what's best for the student, I have to look after the student's well-being, it almost feels like a challenge for me to bring up an issue that transpired to older white people in HR, because I feel like, the situation has to be very, serious for them to really take it serious. If someone says the N word in the class, for instance, as an example, I just feel like it's so hard to be an advocate, and when you're a frontline person to try to make change. I think one of the biggest important things is to start with HR and to have a no racist policy, have people that are in these positions that are high up in HR, truthfully good human beings that aren't, a secret closet racist. You know what I mean? And again, I'm just being real. I'll give you another small example is a situation that transpired. The head HR person is referencing someone that's non-binary as her, keep saying her. And I have to be the one to correct him and be like, it's they, oh, well, she'll be more comfortable if we get, a female to sit in on this. No, it's they, you know what I mean? So it's like, it starts at the top. These people in the top positions in HR and organizations are not educated enough. They haven't gone to any classes to get, they're still stuck in their mindset ways of, how things used to be. So I think that it's so important, like Ashley says, to give people that technically could be qualified, but just don't have those, they can't check those dots. Give them a chance and see what they could do in those type of situations. But I think it's just so important to have diversity at all levels of an organization. Most importantly, HR, for there to be a change over time.
Can I ask one question
I
there?
think that
Actually,
that's
you know what?
really
It's funny.
fair.
You brought up something about
Please,
one of
please.
my lifelong pet peeves, and I'm sorry if everyone loves this. I hate diversity and inclusion training, especially given in a corporate setting. The best thing you can do, in my personal opinion, when I was 16 living on my own, and I boarded with do you know who took me in? Immigrant families. I boarded with, immigrants from Greece, Italy, Chinese. And you know what I learned was culture through that experience. You can sit there and you can preach, don't say these words,
So
live
true.
it. So that way you know why it hurts. And then you'll never do it again. It's the feeling. Like, I also believe that in order to get diversity and inclusion, we need to stop expecting people to be robots. There's so much things that you don't overshare at work. You don't tell your coworkers if you're going through something hard. You know what? People can only deal with what they know and what you're going through. And so I think we need to stop training and start living with different experiences, because then we'll grow too.
Wow.
Such a good point. Like, it's like also hands on. You got to be a practitioner.
Yeah, like
You
go,
can't be
you
a
know what? I think
theorist. You
every
gotta live
person,
it.
if you say you want to learn more about marginalized Black communities, go spend some time there.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Go volunteer.
Volunteer.
You know what?
School
Learn and
program.
ask and put yourself. You don't want to speak to some other corporate executive who led some training on diversity. You want to go to one of those businesses. I visited the Bahamas actually about 10 years ago, and I hated the resort. I didn't want to be surrounded by a bunch of white people with people trying to braid my hair.
So
What
true.
I did was I got on a bus and I went to this town. I don't know where it was, but someone told me I shouldn't be there. But you know what? I went into those businesses and I met some of the nicest, coolest people, and I got spent like $3 on some really good chicken. And I sat down and I talked to the locals, because I went to the Bahamas to experience. I lived in Newfoundland. I didn't want to be surrounded by more white people, and I wanted to learn about the culture and how these people live. That's why I went there in the first place. And so I went back on that bus every day for 5 days. And you know what? That was the best vacation I ever had.
It's
That's
better than
so
Bahamas.
powerful.
It's crazy, Ashley. I'm gonna connect with you afterwards, Ashley, because I lived in Newfoundland for 7 years and I went to Halifax West. So I'm sure
If you're 35, we're probably in the same graduate class.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet.
Oh, let me get my walker.
Oh yeah.
No, but that's
Honestly.
such great points. I feel like that's everything. And like, I'll just touch on Ashley's point just a little bit, just like, so like I went backpacking in Europe with one of my close friends. He's actually sitting beside me now. He's just having his coffee, but and we didn't stay. We stayed at like hostels, and we went to like places where we got to like get to know how people are really living, And I think that that's what it's all about, to go and actually get to know the culture without just, I've been to Italy,
Get
but I
off the
stayed on the
resort. I want to
You know
go to
what I mean?
Italy.
That's
My
not
dream
really
is to go to
helping you.
Italy, and I love to cook, and I want to go to the rural mountains somewhere, and I want to like watch them make pasta and learn from the professionals. Like,
Love that.
and I also love
that.
just the idea of taking culture, because when I went to the Bahamas and I met those people, you take a little bit of that culture with you, and that's what I
Exactly.
want to start. Let's be not. People say about a cultural appropriation. If you learn something and you experience it and you want to take that to your daily life, we need to celebrate the diversity and start just trying new things. It makes us more interesting. People are really boring when they don't go anywhere.
That's so true.
So boring. And just like when you travel, I truly believe that
I
traveling
spent most of
is
my
everything.
career
I
actually
think that
working for a
traveling
company
is-
out of London, Denmark, London, and I've traveled a lot too. And I always remember the very first time I got on a plane, and I thought, the world was just so much bigger, and that's what made me leave, small town Magri, and I haven't looked back. And it's just, the world is so much bigger, and we need to think bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's really amazing. And speaking about the world, I always try to say, if you want to change the world, look at the people in front of you. And you like start with the person. Yeah,
Look in the
mirror.
Start with yourself.
Who are in front of you, who you see that are from different perspectives, different cultures, and you have to go to another continent to change the world. Start with those persons who are from the continent.
Exactly.
They
The
live
locals.
in Canada. They live here. They live in the country.
Exactly.
Not only just that,
Start with what
one
you
of the
have.
biggest
Start
things
with
that
what you have.
I found, especially during the pandemic, and I'm sorry if this is a hot button issue, but everybody's fighting with everybody right now. And I'll remember also during that, I had actually I went through, work situation. I got really stressed, and I actually lost a lot of my hair. So I decided to start wearing wigs, actually, for about 10 months. Luckily, my hair has grown back. But I joined a community because in the African community, a lot of the women wear wigs or extensions, and so many of those people help me do it properly so I could feel better about myself. But you know what? There wasn't one talk about culture or difference. It was just a whole bunch of people asking the questions on the same topic. And I think we just need to start working together, and because that's what I just dislike all the tension, and I'm curious what everyone thinks about, how do we remove that tension and start just putting people in the same room?
Anyone? How do we do that? I would say by actually just um, inviting people into our spaces, by not by invitation, but also having a conversation and seeing with their areas of expertise, not only area of expertise, but area of history and knowledge to bring them into that space. And so welcoming people with open arms and not um, pulling back anyone, giving them that opportunity. Anyone else?
And again, it starts with yourself. Again, it starts with you. It starts with you as a person to bring that energy and bring that diversity inclusion to you. There's nobody else can do it better than you, right? So again, these just like what we're doing these podcasts is we're talking about it. We're bringing it to the surface. We're not hiding it. We're bringing it to the surface. So again, having these summits, speaking to individuals, friends, partners, again, bringing this to the surface and just not letting it settle down. I feel as if that's what we need.
Definitely.
I'd say kindness and
Hmm.
abundance, because I feel like right now, especially, Ashley makes a good point. The world's just getting more
Right.
divided. People are getting more extreme to one side. There's I like to say us that are the open minded, trying to make the world better, and then the people that are closed minded. And I don't want to say keep the world stagnant, but just stuck in their
Hmm.
ways. But I feel like regardless, you're not going to be able to change people. You cannot you cannot put so much pressure on yourself to feel like you can
Hmm.
change people. Instead, just be nice and live in an abundance mindset. And whether it be 5 years, 10 years, 2 months, you're gonna change someone. Someone's gonna be like, man, like that person was just so nice, even though I was so like standoffish. Like, let me try being nice to someone. Let me hold this door and see how that makes me feel. You know what I mean? I feel like
It's
when you
contagious.
pressure it down people's
Hmm.
throats, it's
Yeah.
gonna not work. What
No,
were you
I
gonna
think
say,
it's
Ashley?
contagious. I agree with you.
And my
Exactly.
mom always say,
It's contagious.
kill them with kindness. Kill them with kindness.
That's
Yeah,
right.
for
Amen.
sure.
Yes, yes, your mom's a smart lady.
I also wanted to mention something that should be considered. When Ashley talked about how we should appreciate other people's cultures by, for example, doing the things that they do, once you've experienced it, you have that right to, if you enjoy it. For example, with the example you gave with the wigs, right? A lot of people would see that and consider that to be a racist or cultural appropriation. And that's something
Yep.
that really frustrates me. You're appreciating other people's cultures, and it shouldn't be taken in a negative light. This also reminds me, I don't know if you guys have heard that, but there's some Hollywood actor's son. He went to Jamaica for a while and came back and taught. No,
Yeah.
not
Cruise.
Tom
Tom
Hanks. Tom
Cruise's
Hanks'
son.
Tom
son.
Hanks.
Yeah, I
Hanks.
remember that.
Tom
I'm
Hanks,
pretty
yeah,
sure you've heard of it. He was speaking Jamaican or with a Jamaican accent.
Same.
And the funny thing is, online, all the Jamaicans loved it. They found it funny, they found it amusing. But all the other people who are Caucasian, I assume, found that they were outraged for the Jamaicans. They saw that as being racist. But yeah,
As if they had the
exactly.
space to judge. I
So I
agree
think
with
people
you.
should
That
relax
is
a
a
bit.
good
Crazy.
point.
And I can speak on that too as well. Templeton, DJ Khaled come to the Bahamas so much, and
Yeah.
he's saying like wagwan, and people in the Bahamas we love it because he's like, yo, this guy coming from the U.S. speaking like our language, like he's just killing us laughing. We just laugh, and people think that the social media people be like, yo, like the Bahamian people should be in Paris, and like everybody be like, nah, it's just a joke, right? So I totally understand what you said.
Wow. Wow. This has been an amazing discussion. I think we can have so much more into this discussion and we can bring so much value. And I must say that we're going to bring this series back into each month of our episodes because we're going to invite other people into the spaces and we're going to add more to the context of diversity, but taking it to another level each time, not just focusing on the cultural perspective, not just focusing on openness, but focusing on policies and governance and all that good stuff, and where it all started with history and everything. So I thank my team and also our guest, Tyree, for being a part of this discussion because it's very important to see this world. The world is changing rapidly. It's changing, and we need to be a part of the change. And it starts with us, like we said. And as we continue to move forward, let's build. Let's build together. Let's build with our voices. Let's build with unity. Thank you so much, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you to the next episode.